The resurrection. In the soft pre-dawn light of that first Easter morning, while the world was still wrapped in slumber, something extraordinary was about to unfold in a peaceful garden near Jerusalem. The air was sweet with the scent of spring flowers, and a gentle mist hung low over the ground, wrapping everything in a silvery embrace. As the first hints of dawn began to paint the eastern sky in delicate shades of rose and gold, several women made their way quietly through the streets of Jerusalem. Among them was Mary Magdalene, her heart heavy with grief, but filled with loving devotion. The soft sound of their footsteps and the rustle of their robes were the only sounds in the still morning air. They carried precious spices and oils, fragrant offerings meant to honor their beloved teacher. The narrow paths were lined with dew-kissed flowers, and early morning birds had just begun their gentle songs. The garden where the tomb lay was peaceful, filled with the subtle stirring of leaves in the morning breeze. As they walked, they spoke softly among themselves, their voices barely above a whisper, wondering about the practical matters of their task. The large stone that sealed the tomb concerned them, yet they continued forward, drawn by love and devotion. Their dedication spoke of the deep impact Jesus had made on their lives, teaching them about unconditional love and the power of faith. The garden was beginning to emerge from the morning mist as they approached, its features gradually becoming clearer in the growing light. Olive trees stood like ancient guardians, their silver leaves shimmering softly in the early morning breeze. The air was fresh and cool, carrying the promise of a new day. As they drew near to the tomb, the first rays of sunlight began to filter through the trees, creating patterns of light and shadow on the path before them. What they discovered in those next moments would forever change their understanding of life, death, and the endless possibilities of divine love. The women slowed their steps as they approached the tomb, their hearts filled with quiet wonder. The massive stone that had sealed the entrance was no longer in place. Instead of the darkness they expected, the first warm rays of morning light illuminated the open doorway. The garden around them seemed to hold its breath in anticipation. Mary Magdalene stood still for a moment, her spices held close, as she took in the unexpected sight. The morning air stirred gently around her, carrying the sweet fragrance of blooming flowers and fresh earth. Inside the tomb, where shadows should have been deep and heavy, a soft light seemed to glow. Moving closer with gentle steps, they discovered the tomb was empty. The linen cloths that had wrapped their beloved teacher lay folded with care, as if placed there with deliberate tenderness. The morning light touched the stone surfaces with a warm golden glow, transforming the space from one of sorrow to one of mystery and possibility. Mary Magdalene, moved by what she saw, hurried back through the garden to tell the disciples. Her feet carried her swiftly along the path as the morning continued to unfold around her. The city was beginning to stir, yet the peace of that garden moment stayed with her as she moved through the quiet streets. Peter and John, upon hearing her news, made their way to the garden with quickened steps. The morning sun had risen higher now, casting long shadows beneath the olive trees and warming the cool morning air. They found everything just as Mary had described, the empty tomb holding its profound mystery. In these moments of discovery, the garden remained serene, as if nature itself understood the significance of what was unfolding. Birds continued their morning songs, flowers turned their faces to the strengthening sun, and a gentle breeze carried the promise of something new and wonderful about to be revealed. After the disciples departed, Mary Magdalene remained in the garden, her heart full of questions and emotions she could barely contain. She stood near the empty tomb as the morning light grew stronger, warming the stone walls and casting soft shadows among the flowering plants that grew nearby. Tears fell quietly as she tried to understand all that she was witnessing. As she wept softly, she noticed someone in the garden, perhaps a caretaker tending to the morning duties among the plants and trees. The figure spoke to her with gentle concern, asking why she was crying. Through her tears, she explained her worry about finding her beloved teacher, her voice trembling with emotion, but filled with deepest care. It was then that the magnificent truth was revealed. When the figure spoke her name, Mary, she recognized the voice that had so often brought comfort and wisdom to her heart. It was Jesus, transformed yet familiar, present in a new and wonderful way. The morning light seemed to grow brighter in that moment of recognition, and the garden appeared to shimmer with divine presence. Jesus spoke to her with tender care, helping her understand that while things had changed, His presence would continue in a new way. His words were like a soft breeze, bringing comfort and hope to her soul. The morning air around them was filled with the sweet fragrance of flowers and the gentle rustling of leaves, as if all of nature was participating in this sacred moment. Mary's heart was transformed from sorrow to joy, though it was a quiet joy, deep and peaceful. She was given the precious task of sharing this wonderful news with others, becoming the first messenger of the resurrection story. As she made her way back through the garden, every step felt lighter, and the morning seemed more beautiful than any she had ever known. The news began to spread quietly among Jesus' followers, like ripples on still water. Each person who heard the wonderful message felt their heart fill with hope and their spirit lift with newfound understanding. Throughout that remarkable day, the story traveled from person to person, bringing comfort and joy to those who had been in mourning. As the day continued to unfold, more encounters with the risen Jesus brought wonder and gentle revelation to His followers. Two friends walking the quiet road to Emmaus found themselves in the company of a fellow traveler who spoke with remarkable wisdom about ancient scriptures and profound truths. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across their path as they walked together, their hearts warming to His words. In the soft light of evening, as they shared a meal together, their eyes were open to recognize their beloved teacher. The breaking of bread became a moment of sacred recognition, and though Jesus vanished from their sight, the warmth of His presence remained with them. They hurried back to Jerusalem, their path lit by the setting sun, and their hearts glowing with joy. That same evening, as darkness settled over Jerusalem and lamps cast warm light in an upper room, the disciples gathered in quiet conversation. The air was filled with whispered accounts of the day's extraordinary events. Though the doors were closed, Jesus appeared among them, bringing his familiar greeting of peace. His presence filled the room with gentle radiance and calm assurance. Thomas was not present for this first gathering, and in his absence, he carried natural doubts about what he had heard. A week later, in another peaceful evening gathering, Jesus appeared again. With infinite patience and understanding, he invited Thomas to see and believe. This tender moment showed how Jesus met each person exactly where they were, responding to doubt, not with judgment, but with loving guidance. In the days that followed, more peaceful encounters brought comfort and understanding to Jesus' followers. By the shore of Galilee, in the soft light of dawn, he prepared breakfast for some of his disciples who had been fishing through the night. The morning mist hung over the quiet water, and the scent of cooking fish mingled with the fresh morning air as they shared this intimate meal together. Each of these appearances carried special significance, helping his followers understand that while things had changed, the essence of his love and presence remained constant. Through gentle words and actions, he helped them grasp the profound truth that death had been transformed into a doorway to new life. During these precious 40 days after the resurrection, Jesus continued to appear to his followers, each encounter bringing deeper understanding and peace. He spoke to them of love, forgiveness, and the kingdom of heaven, helping them see how his death and resurrection had opened a new chapter in the story of divine love for humanity. His presence was like gentle rain, nurturing seeds of faith that would soon blossom into tremendous growth. By the shores of Galilee, in quiet gardens, and in rooms filled with the warm glow of fellowship, Jesus prepared his followers for their journey ahead. His words were filled with wisdom and encouragement, helping them understand that though he would soon depart physically, his spirit would remain with them always. The lessons were shared with patience and care, each truth settling gently into their hearts like dew on morning flowers. When the time came for his final departure, Jesus led his beloved followers to a quiet hillside. The day was peaceful, with soft clouds drifting across the blue sky and a gentle breeze carrying the scent of spring flowers. His last words to them were full of love and promise, assuring them that they would never truly be alone. As he blessed them, he was lifted from their sight, leaving them with hearts full of peace and purpose. As we rest and reflect on this beautiful story of resurrection and renewal, we can find deep comfort in its timeless messages. It reminds us that love is stronger than death, that hope can flourish even in the darkest moments, and that transformation often comes in unexpected ways.